From the streets of Nuremberg, we head to the Nürburgring for Prototype Cup Germany 2025, round 5 of a 6-round season. Races 9 and 10 here at this legendary circuit in the shadow of Nürburgring Castle, in the shadow of the Nordschleife, the green hell. Sadly, we're not on the Nordschleife, we're on the sprint circuit. But it is wonderful to be here at this, what is arguably the capital of German motorsport. As we look at a car that is on pole position, but with an unfamiliar driver at the wheel, one unfamiliar to that particular car anyway, Oscar Tunyo has scored his 5th pole position. We've done a bit of musical chairs since the last round, with Michael Herrick jumping over to the seat that is alongside Michael C. Johansson, the Gebhard Intralogic Motorsport. Easy for me to say. And Oscar Tunyo into that seat of the #1 car alongside Alexander Christensen. But there's no change at all in the #2 car, and it's Danny Sufi, the championship leader, who has qualified on the front row ahead of Mattis Plushkul in the #18 BWT MX Motorsport Duquesne. Alongside him is another of BWT cars, Mattis Jakobsen. But in the championship, well, Danny Sufi, along with his co-driver Pavel Lefterov, lead Mattis Plushkul and his co-driver Max Angelard by 34 points. There's a slight change in the points since we last spoke, because there was an issue that was being looked at from round 2 at Hockenheim back in May, where Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov had a discrepancy with some old fuel that had been left in the tank by accident. They have now, following an investigation appeal, been disqualified from race 2 at round 2 in Hockenheim. It means their lead in the championship is down to 34 points. But with just 4 races remaining in this season, it is a very, very healthy lead still for Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov. Max Angelard, Mattis Plushkul, 34 points adrift. And the very pretty car that you saw briefly on screen, there you go, there, with Sven Bart and Maxim Dirks at the wheel. They are 3rd in the championship. They are 40 points adrift. They are still looking for their first win in Prototype Cup Germany. Great to have Zeno Volker back on the grid. He appeared at the Lausitz Ring back in May and instantly impressed. He's a solo driver, but he got a 3rd and a 5th play at the Lausitz Ring. So for Conrad Motorsport, really good to have Zeno Volker back on the grid of Prototype Cup Germany. So the car's currently on the grid, and very, very shortly we will be getting ready to go with this race. There's Thomas Ambiel in the #33 car. So we have the Drivers' Championship, we also have the Junior Championship. At the moment, Max Angelard and Mattis Plushkul leading that by just 4 points from Maxim Dirks, with Matthias Jakobsen and Riccardo Cirelli. They are in 3rd place. They are 37 points back in the junior ranking. And the trophy ranking is Thomas Ambiel, who leads Michael Herrick by 90 points. So very healthy lead there, with just 150 points remaining this season in that. And in the team championship, Conrad Motorsport currently leads BWT MX Motorsport by just 16 points. Looking back to the Drivers' Championship there, you can see Danny Sufi from the USA, with Pavel Lefterov from Bulgaria. They lead the way, head of Max Angelard and Mattis Plushkul. So, if you are new to Prototype Cup racing, it is a wonderful discipline. These cars are running the slightly older LMP3 chassis with the mighty Nissan engine that is prepared by Orica and his 5.6 litre V8, and it makes the ground absolutely shake. This is a race that's going to be 55 minutes plus 1 lap long, with a mandatory pit stop. The pit window for that will open on the 22nd minute, remain open for 10 minutes. During that time, every car will need to come into the pits for a mandatory stop. In the instance of where there are 2 drivers, there will also need to be a driver change. But just to keep things interesting, depending on drivers' ranking, FIA ranking, whether silver or bronze, depending on whether they are solo, will determine what their minimum pit stop time is. So we'll unpack that a little bit as the race progresses. Also added to that, there is success time as well that is added. So more to come on that, but it's Oscar Tunjo who starts on pole position. Car number 1 in position number 1. Number 2 is car number 2, Danny Sufi. Then is Mattis Pluskol and Matthias Bier-Jakobsen, all BWT ADAC Motorsport Row 2. Row 3, Jakob Erlbacher and Sven Bart, the experienced GT racer. Zeno Volker, a solo pilot, has Michael Herrich for company. And the other of the solo drivers, just 2 solo drivers, Thomas Ambiel, lines up at the back of the pack, but as a solo bronze-rated driver, his minimum pit stop time for Thomas Ambiel is 95 seconds. The car ahead of him, Zeno Volker, as a solo silver driver, his minimum pit stop time is 25 seconds longer. So lots of potential for change, lots of potential for things to get shuffled around in the pit window. But before all of that, we have part 1 of the race to come. So it is a rolling start. The car's now given the instruction to grid up, and in just a few moments, the rumble of these cars around this circuit, which is 3.629 kilometers around, with 11 turns, 4 to the left and 7 to the right. It is the Nürburgring sprint circuit. It is Prototype Cup Germany. Creventic, in association with the ADAC, bring you race 9 of a 12-race season. And we are about to go racing at the Nürburgring. We are go. Oscar Tunjo leading into turn 1. Danny Sufi slotting into that really solid second place into turn 1. But keep an eye on Mattis Pluskol. Had a little think about it, didn't he? Matthias Bier-Jakobsen has been very impressive on his debut here in Prototype Cup Germany in the red car. Pluskol's got shuffled out of it a little bit. He's been relegated down the pack. So Tunjo leading, Sufi second, but Jakobsen is the driver who's made the best ground up into 3rd place as they head out towards turn 5. The hairpin, there is Oscar Tunjo, championship leader in front of him. Danny Sufi needs to keep out of trouble. They've got a healthy championship lead, but that will disappear in an instant if he or Pavel Lefterov record a non-finish, so needs to tiptoe. Some of the cars around them, not so much in the championship hunt, but one that is the number 18 car with Mattis Pluskol, not the best of starts. A driver who's absolutely loving his time in Prototype Cup Germany. I spoke to him yesterday. He said prototypes are the way forwards for me, but at the moment, it's not been the dream that he had when he got out of bed this morning into the chicane. He's gathered it all up. He's just ahead of Sven Bart in the number 3 car. So out to complete the first lap we come. Here comes Oscar Tunjo. Danny Sufi, sorry about that, renaming him. Then Matthias Bier-Jakobsen, then Jakob Erlbacher, then Mattis Pluskol. And there, Mattis Bier-Jakobsen just having a little look to the inside, showing himself to Danny Sufi. Really, with not a lot to lose in the championship hunt, but quite a long way back. So he is the one with everything to gain if he can find a route past Danny Sufi. So Oscar Tunjo, having broken clear, already opened up a gap of 1.1 seconds in the opening lap of this race. Needs to hold it all together. Remember, different minimum pit stop times for different cars. We'll tell you more about them when we get towards the pit window. These cars that are pretty tricky to drive, they're ground effect cars. They have the aerodynamics in the underfloor of the car sucking them down, the Venturi tunnel sucking them down onto the track. The wings playing an important part the bumps of the curbs, any bumps on the track, causing the cars to momentarily lose downforce. So very important that the drivers keep their concentration, not hustling across the curbs in quite the way that maybe a GT car might. But got to keep it within the track limits as well. Out onto the pit straight, there will come the growl of these cars as they come tearing past the pits. There's the number 33 car, Thomas Ambiel. He will have the shortest minimum pit stop of all the cars. So the race leader, Oscar Tunyo, will have a minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds plus a handicap, because there are two silver drivers sharing the seat of that car. That means there's an additional 20 seconds. So their minimum pit stop time will be 115 seconds. Thomas Ambiel, who's currently running in last place, will have a minimum pit stop time of 95 seconds, so 25 seconds shorter. So if Ambiel can keep the lead pack within sight, he will have the potential to leapfrog up through the order. Zeno Folker, as a silver-rated driver, of course, all drivers have an FIA grading, and we've got silver and bronze-rated drivers in this race. But Zeno Folker, as a silver-rated driver, because he's solo, will have 25 seconds of additional time added on, which means his minimum pit stop time will be 120 seconds. So he will have the longest of all the pit stoppers. The winner of the previous race has an additional pit stop time added. So for a win, a driver will have, well, we'll come back to that in a minute. Hang on a second. We've got challenges for here. Mattis Plushko coming back at Jakob Erlbacher. So Mattis Plushko in the pink BWT Mucker car in 5th place. And there's Jakob Erlbacher just ahead in 4th. So Plushko, having gathered it up after a troubled first lap, now getting dialed into the groove, ducks to the inside, says, I'll have that, thank you very much. Jakob Erlbacher in car number 11 is shuffled back through the pack, loses a position. I was about to tell you, the winner of the previous race has an additional 6 seconds of success handicap put on as well. Second place in the previous race, an additional 4 seconds, and 2 seconds to the 3rd place from the previous race. We look at a replay, and that was textbook stuff from Mattis Plushko as he takes that position away. So Plushko up into 4th place, will now set about after the sister BWT Mucker Motorsport car, with the Mattis Bjerre Jakobsen at the wheel in 3rd place. There is Zeno Folker in the green and black Conrad Motorsport prototype car. Would have loved to have done a full season, but budget's still coming in for a lot of these drivers. But Zeno Folker was so impressive at the Lausitz Ring. Now hounding the car in front. So Folker has already dispatched the cars. I'm just looking to see what order he is in as he comes out across the line. So there's Plushko in 4th, Sven Bart, then Erlbacher, then it's Folker, then Mikael Herrick, and then it's Thomas Ambiel. So Zeno Folker in the number 22 car, tracking down Jakob Erlbacher, confusing all of us by jumping from the number 80 car that we saw him in at the Nürburgring, now to the number 11 car for Badischer Motorsport Club, car that's had Valentino Catalana at the wheel for a couple of rounds. So switching from Ginetta to Duquesne. Of course, Ginettas and Duquesnes and Ligiers permitted in this series. But Zeno Folker, the man who was so impressive at the Lausitz Ring, currently in 7th place, but challenging Jakob Erlbacher in 6th place. You know, it's only a matter of time before he's on the back bumper and making that challenge. Looking out of the final corner in the late afternoon sunshine here at the Nürburgring. Heading down the straight, the sun quite low in the sky. very much in the eyes of these drivers to head towards turn 1. It's Oscar Tunjo leading the way in car number 1, Danny Sufi in second, then Matthias Bier Jakobsen in third. Mattis Pluskal about 2.5 seconds back. So what can he do about the sister car up ahead of him? Can he get himself onto the podium? Plenty of time in this race, including the pit stops and the driver changes for all bar 2 of the cars. Zeno Folker in car number 22. Now up with Jakob Erlbacher. This is the fight for 6th place. Remember, Folker will be in the pits for 5 seconds longer than the car that he's challenging at the moment. So he'll want to get past if he can, and he'll want to break clear. At the moment, Jakob Erlbacher in that 6th place, positioning his car, the Duqueine D08, exactly where it needs to be to hold off the number 22 car. These are quite wide, these LMP3 prototypes. Best opportunity is to pick up a slipstream out of turn 11 and out along the pits, but it requires here being nice and close. Zeno Folker drifting it around the chicane. Requires a good exit out of turn 11, the Hyundai curve, as they head out onto the pit straight. In the background, here comes Jakob Erlbacher. There's Zeno Folker. We've got a blue and yellow car being challenged by a Conrad black and green car at the front. We've got exactly the same thing happening further back. Jakob Erlbacher and Zeno Folker in very similar looking cars as well as these two here. So this is the lead battle. Oscar Tunjo not breaking clear of Danny Sufi. Tunjo is in the championship hunt mathematically, but realistically not. He's 85 points back from Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov. He's very much out for glory. He's out to score wins, to get the trophies. Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov will need to think of the bigger picture, because they get into any kind of encounter with another car and record a non-finish, that 34 points lead in the championship will evaporate very, very quickly. Finishes, consistency are important. That's exactly what we've had from Sufi and Pavel Lefterov. They've won 4 times this year. Apart from the disqualification, they've finished on the podium in every race, and that is why they lead the championship. They had a win at the opener in Spa-Francorchamps. They followed that up with a 3rd and a 2nd. A couple more wins, a 2nd, and then another win at the Nürburgring last time out. 2nd place would be good points. But you try telling a racing driver to settle for 2nd place. Good luck with that. Danny Sufi, part of the fixtures and fittings at Conrad Motorsport, originally from Austin, Texas, currently living in Dortmund. Was in the Prototype Cup Germany last year, got 2nd in the championship. He's also the winter champion in Prototype Winter Series, both this year and last year. Had 7 wins and 1 2nd place in 8 races this year in the Prototype Winter Series. That's how good he is. Pavel Lefterov, who's made the switch from GT4 racing, his co-driver, they've proven to be a really, really strong combination. 2 drivers who love their racing, loving Prototype Cup. And Oscar Tunjo, the driver that we have seen pretty well, I think, in every season of Prototype Cup Germany. This is the 4th season of this championship. Started in 2022, and we've seen Oscar Tunjo appearing in each one. And there is Zeno Folker. He's pushing much by any chance. Oh no, that's Jakob, that's Sven Barton, beg your pardon, in 5th place. The evening sunshine silhouetting these cars as they come around turn 11. We're looking now from the perspective of turn 1. Slight downhill into turn 1, a bit of a bump under braking as well. Always throws these cars just at the braking point. There it is. And then it's the downhill, the sharp right-hander, dropping down the gears and then accelerating out towards turn 2. The surface changes slightly there as well. So plenty to catch these drivers out. They have to concentrate, they have to focus. Oscar Tunjo leading the way by a 2nd. We're looking now at Zeno Volker, Jakob Erlbacher in the number 11 car in 6th place. Zeno Volker flashing the lights. Would love to get in front of this car and try and open up a gap to try and negate that extra 5 seconds he's going to have in the pits when the pit window opens. Remember, Volker will have that longer minimum pit stop time. The clock starts from the pit entry and stops at the pit exit. The drivers must not go below the minimum pit stop time. If they do, there would be a penalty incoming. At the moment, car number 1 leads the way. Car number 2 in 2nd place. Tunyo from Sufi. We're watching this battle at the moment. The closest on the track. Jakob Erlbacher, Zeno Volker. It is the number 11 car that currently occupies 6th place. ADAC Motorsport Club Duquesne with Conrad Motorsport Ligier JSP 320. They've got the identical engines, but the chassis are different. And Zeno Volker, I really hope that he can pull together some sponsorship and we can see some more of him in the future. Really one of the absolute up-and-coming talents of Zeno Volker. A 3rd place at the Lausitzring last time out as his best finish. Doesn't really reflect what he saw. Got a bit of controversy in race 2 at the Lausitzring, a fairly optimistic move. We saw him in the ADAC Turnwagen Junior Cup in 2023. But was also karting that year as well, and then made the move. This is a big step up, jumping into LMP3 racing, and to do as well as he's doing just shows what a great competitor he is. Jakob Erlbacher has raced in all 4 seasons of the Prototype Cup Germany. His best up until this year were a couple of 4th places, but Erlbacher this year was at the Gebhardt Intralogistics Motorsport car. That's had a 6th, a 5th, and a 4th place. So looking to improve on that here. Zeno Volker looking to relieve him of that 6th place. Out along the pit straight we come once again. Tunyo, 1.098 clear of Danny Sufi. Then it's Matthias Bier Jakobsen. Then Mattis Plushkul. Then Sven Bart. Then this battle here, Jakob Erlbacher and Zeno Volker fighting for the 6th place. Out they go, around towards turn 4 and then into the hairpin of turn 5. Volker tucked up behind. You may wonder why they flash the lights. It's just all about trying to break the concentration of the car in front. These drivers trying to hit the perfect braking point, hit the apexes in exactly the right place. Where these bright lights are flashing in the mirrors, you can easily be distracted, you can miss your braking point, and that's how the car behind pounces. And you can see how hard Jakob Erlbacher was pushing there as he goes wide, kicks the dust up into the air. A little bit of dirt on those slick tires may well just slow him briefly, but Zeno Volker very much following through the dust. You can see how wide he went there. Volker keeping it just about out of the gravel, but doesn't have the opportunity to make the move. There comes Matthias Bier Jakobsen. Now here comes Mattis Plushkul. There's Sven Bart in 5th place, running on his own. Then this fight for 6th. Jakob Erlbacher in the yellow and black car. The green and black car behind. Zeno Volker. There's some 10.2 seconds clear. Mikael Herrick and Thomas Ambiel is still a little way back at the moment. We're about 5 minutes away from the pit window opening, and that's when the dynamic of this race will change. Volker, you can hear the tires squealing as he pushes that car as hard as he can, as hard as he dare, on his quest to try and move up from 7th place. I think Zeno was pretty disappointed with his quali this morning. Certainly be looking to do a bit better than that tomorrow. So started today very much on the back foot. But of course, a lot of these other drivers around him have had the experience of a full season. Volker in only his second ever weekend in Prototype Cup Germany, his third ever race, and driving like a veteran. Here comes Tunyo and Sufi across the line. Just stay on top of this. Certainly, Oscar Tunyo, Jakob Olbacher with very similar looking cars, of course. And you've got Danny Sufi and Zino Volker, also with similar looking cars. No snoozing here, is there? 37 minutes and 10 seconds remaining of this race. That is Danny Sufi, championship leader. Would dearly love to win this race, but maybe, if it's possible, settling for second. Of course, when the pit window opens, there's the opportunity to do an undercut or an overcut. When you've got open track in front of you, to maybe do a reverse strategy of what the car that you are competing with is doing, to try and do the opposite, get yourself some open track and try and make that pass during the pit stop sequence. We'll find out what that is at the moment. Oscar Tunyo will be handing over to the driver from Zimbabwe, Alex Christensen, when he comes into the pits. And of course, Danny Sufi will be handing over to Pavel Lefterov. Such a potent combination in the Prototype Cup Germany. So at the moment, 36 minutes remaining of the race. And along the line we come. We're about 3 minutes away from the pit window opening. When the clock strikes 33 to go, then there's that 10-minute window, which is the opportunity for the drivers to come in, and everyone will need to come in within that 10 minutes. There's the yellow and black car with Jakob Olbacher at the wheel. There is Zino Volker, still trying to find that route past. He might be another one who will need to use the pit window to try and do an undercut on the car in front of him. So Jakob Olbacher in 6th place, Volker in 7th. They're 12.4 seconds clear of Michael Herrick, who in turn is 10.9 seconds clear of Thomas Ambiel. So how hard is Volker going to try? He'll be mindful of that race, the second race at the Lausitz-Ring, where he got together with another car and the stewards got involved. He eventually picked up a 5th place to go with a podium, 3rd place on his debut in Prototype Cup Germany in the first race of the weekend. Looking at a replay here to see how hard Volker is pushing. And he was the next one to jump over the curbs, bounce into the dust. One of these cars get away from you. They get told, I've never driven one, but I'm told you can become very much a passenger. So be very careful with the curbs, with the bumps. Here they come once again. Here's Jakob Olbacher. Sterling job defending that 6th place. Zino Volker, what's he got to do to try and find a route past Jakob Olbacher? He'll be frustrated there. Fastest man on the track, Oscar Tunyo. A lap of 126.793. Oscar Tunyo, driver from Colombia, leading the way from Danny Sufi, the American driver. Matthias Bjerre-Jacobsen is 3.651 back from Danny Sufi. And 3.5 seconds back from him is Matisz Pluszko. But we are now 30 seconds away from the pit window opening. It's now time to roll the dice for the teams to decide what is the best strategy. Are you going to maximize the driver that you think is the fastest? Are you going to bring the car in, try and do an undercut or an overcut? In the case of Zino Volker and Thomas Ambiel, maybe get Volker in early and get him out again onto some open track so that he can try and undercut Jakob Olbacher. Volker, I believe, may well come into the pits nice and early when this pit window opens, because the team may want to get him out onto open track, of course, unless the car in front pits. But he hasn't done it this time around. The pit window is open. Our race leaders up towards turn 3 at the moment. We'll see what they're going to do next time around. Oscar Tunyo, I reckon, with an open track in front of him, will want to maximise his time in the seat. Alexander Christensen, who's yet to finish on the podium in Prototype Cup Germany, may be willing for Oscar Tunyo, a previous winner, to maximise his time in the seat. Maybe come in late in the window. We'll see how that works out. Right, here comes one. It's Mikael Herrick in the number 80 car, handing over to Mikkel C. Johansson, the Danish driver, the Gebhard Intralogistics Motorsport, poised and ready for action. No major hurry here. They've got 105 seconds because Mikael Herrick is a bronze-rated driver. Mikkel C. Johansson is silver. So they have a minimum pit stop time that is 10 seconds shorter than many of the cars around them and is 15 seconds shorter than Zeno Volker, but is 5 seconds longer than Thomas Ambiel. So that's from pit entry to pit exit. You'll see the clock ticking down, so plenty of time just to take it easy, to think about it. No tyre changes, so the tyres need to go the distance. Right, one of the Conrad Motorsport cars peeling off into the pits. So that is Zeno Volker, who peels off into the pit lane. So he's not doing a driver change. He'll hit the white line, so the clock starts ticking down. So Volker will have that additional 5 seconds that he'll need to be stationary. So he will be in the pits. He's not going to get out of the car, not unless he needs to. I think he's allowed to if he wants to, but he'll probably open the door, get a bit of air in. So he comes to a stop, engine off. The team take the tyre pressures, gets a wash and blow dry. Do that on my road car. We've got a hosepipe ban at home. The door's open, get a bit of air in. Right, look at this. The number 11 car, Jakob Elbacker, sliding through the chicane. In fact, Zeno Volker did actually get a route past car number 11 just before he came into the pits. So the team set to work. Very, very restricted what they can do to the car. Mainly its tyre pressures, clean the windscreen. Here comes Oscar Tunyo. No hurry to come in. I think Danny Sufi's in too much of a hurry either, so he's staying out there as well. First and second. Matthias Pierre Jakobsen, he stays out. Mattis Pluskal also stays out. Sven Bart is currently around the final turn. He's onto the pit straight, so he's staying out as well. Jakob Elbacker, he is staying out as well, as far as I can see. So here's your race leader, first and second. Car 80 is under investigation, so Mikael Herrick handed over to Mikkel C. Johansson, so a pit stop infringement. I told you the pit stops are heavily regulated. It may well have been too many mechanics or the incoming driver crossing the line before he's allowed to. There's Franz Conrad, the boss, looking at Zeno Volker. Well, he's had enough time to get out, have a drink, go for a walk, come back in again. But finally, the engine bursts into life. Zeno Volker is running. And it looks like he may have been stationary for a bit longer than he needed to be. I'm looking at the clock. He comes out. I don't think he was. So Volker back out onto the track. His stop is done and dusted, so he'll be going hell for leather now. Hopefully out on some clear track. He's got nobody in front of him. Next up the road in front of him is the number 11 car, but that's quite a long way ahead. So now Zeno Volker will be giving it full beans. He's down to 8th place, but his stop is done and dusted. So we've had 2 cars that have been in, done their stop. The number 80 car, which is under investigation for an infringement, and the number 22 car. Our race leader and second place staying out on track. Now, what's the betting? The team are saying at some point to Danny Sufi, do the opposite to what Oscar Tunyo does. Probably doesn't want to come in at the same time. Wants the chance to do the undercut as Sven Bart comes in. The very pretty looking car. Maxim Dirks will be poised and ready for action. They're still looking for their first win. They've had a couple of second places. They've had a 3rd place last time out at the Nürburgring. Great duo, very strong partnership, and always look really delighted whenever they finish on a podium. Right, Jakob Becker now into the pits, handing over to Jeremy Siffert, the driver who is the grandson of two-times Formula One winner Joe Siffert, the driver who sadly died at Brands Hatch back in 1971. His grandson carrying on the family tradition. Here's a replay of Sven Bart coming in. And there's Maxim Dirks. On your marks, I mean, they run to the car and it's all systems go, actually. No major hurry. Right, pit stop infringement. So we were probably looking at something there. So a pit stop infringement for car number 3 is potentially under investigation. A penalty lap has been awarded to car number 80. So Mikko C. Johansson is going to have to visit the penalty box. So all is not well with the Sven Bart car either, / Maxim Dirks. So that's 2 cars that have been under investigation. One has been awarded a penalty. That is the number 80 car, currently in 9th place. So Becker handing over to Jeremy Siffert, the number 11 car. The engine bursts into life, and he'll aim to hit the white line when the clock strikes 0. So Maxim Dirks is out into the pit lane. There's confirmation of what we know already. So penalty lap. There's a penalty box that's painted on the exit of turn 1, and for 1 lap, the car that receives the penalty will have to pass through it at no more than 60 kilometers an hour. It's equivalent to adding about 5 seconds onto lap time. So car number 80 is going to have to do it for breaking the rules in the pit stop, and now car 3 will wait. Well, the team will, with trembling anticipation, to see whether Maxim Dirks will have to do likewise. At the moment, the top 5 remain out on track. Car 3, a penalty lap as well. So I thought that might be coming, didn't we? So Maxim Dirks going to have to slow down and pass through the penalty box. That is the penalty box there. And he'll have to pass through that right into the pits. Comes our race leader, Oscar Tunyo. So Danny Sufi will be out for another 2 3/4 minutes. He is now going to be giving it everything he's got to try and open up a gap before he comes in to hand over to Pavel Lefterov. Oscar Tunyo could have done a couple more laps, but, or at least 1 more lap, has now come in. Alexander Christensen looking for his first podium in Prototype Cup Germany. A lot of pressure. The car that has been leading the race is now waiting there for him to jump into the seat. Alexander Christensen from Zimbabwe, the silver-rated driver, now into the seat of that car, the 2024 Gebhard Ginetta GT5 Challenge champion. Guested in Next Gens last year. That's something very, very different to one of these. Those are the electric minis. There is the number 3 car. Oh, this is going to hurt. Through the penalty zone he comes, down to the minimum time as you pass through, and then onto the accelerator. So 60 kilometers an hour is the minimum, is the time that he must not go above when he's in the penalty box. If he doesn't get that right, he'll just be instructed to come back and do it all again. Right, in comes Danny Sufi, because he can't really risk staying out for another lap. He could have potentially got another lap in, but if he had made a mistake or gone wide or had an issue, he may have missed the pit window. And I'll have to tell you, missing the pit window is pretty disastrous when it comes to receiving a penalty. So, Danny Sufi, Pavel Lefterov will be standing by. Also in, Matas Pierre Jakobsen, car number 8, will be handing over to the Italian Riccardo Cirelli. Jakobsen and Cirelli, the Danish and the Italian, 2 very, very impressive young drivers. Sufi's work is done for today. There's Pavel Lefterov. And the belt's out of the way. The insert is in place. Now into the seat. Danny Sufi will just help him to get buckled in. Of course, with the number of mechanics allowed to work on the car, it means that the outgoing driver has to help the incoming driver to get everything sorted. Help him to get buckled up. The clock continues to tick down. They've still got over a minute So no major hurry here. Of course, they've got an additional 6 seconds to the 115 as a result of the success penalty from the Nürburgring. So a minimum pit stop time of 121 seconds for Sufi and Lefterov. You can see they're still leading the way. Our leading stopper at the moment is Alexander Christensen. So where is he at the moment in the #1 car? He's up at turn 5 into turn 6. There's Danny Sufi. He's going to take the helmet off. It's Franz Conrad, just a comforting hand on the shoulder. Now we get ready to fire the #2 car up. The engine is running. So the car #1, the car that was leading the race, currently now into the chicane, turns 9 and 10, and soon we'll be heading up towards turn 11. This is going to be what could be potentially the race win. Remember, there's success stoppage time for car #2 as well, so it's going to be a bit of a tall order to come out on top. But is it going to happen? So out of the pits comes Pavel Lefterov. In the background, you can see the #1 car, and in all of it, car #8 with the shorter pit stop time without the success penalty. It's Riccardo Cirelli in the #8 who jumps to the lead of this race. Riccardo Cirelli, he had 115 seconds, 6 seconds shorter than Pavel Lefterov. So car #8 takes the lead of the race. Lefterov with all the work to do. In the background is Max Angelard in the #18 car. The car that had been leading for much of the race with Oscar Tunjo at the wheel, now handed over to Alexander Christensen in 4th place. Zeno Volker still in the 7th. He is behind Jeremy Siffert. Maxim Dirks is in 5th place. Then it's Mikko C. Johansson and Thomas Ambuel. So just going to let the drivers do a complete lap and just get things sorted out, see what the gaps are, but still further back, fighting for position. Thomas Ambuel and Mikko C. Johansson smoking the tyres into the corner. Right, this is turn 11 that we're looking at. So we're just going to see what the gaps are when they cross the line. Cirelli leads the way in this race, having taken over from Matthias Bjerre-Jakobsen, done a brilliant job, 4.281, so that's worked really well for them. Pavel Lefterov will be closing in. Max Angelard, 2.25 back, then 1.1 back to Alex Christensen, then 11.7 back to Maxim Dirks. So with just over 20.5 minutes plus 1 lap remaining, the chase is on. Everybody's done their pit stops. I don't think anybody's gone below the minimum pit stop times. That's good news for all. And it is Cirelli in the pit stop sequence who's come out on top with Matthias Bjerre-Jakobsen. He did a sterling job. They are looking for their first win this season. In the case of Jakobsen, a first win ever at Prototype Cup Germany. Lefterov in 2nd place before the pit stop sequence, in 2nd place now, but with a different car in front. And look how hard Alexander Christensen is pushing to try and find a way past Max Angelard in the #18 car. So Angelard, the driver from Poland for BWT ADAC Motorsports, his first year in Prototype Cup Germany, won at the Hockenheim Ring from pole position in just his 4th race, along with Mattis Plushko. So really taking to the prototype discipline very well indeed. Angelard, who came from karting, so another driver in at the deep end, but now with Alexander Christensen bearing down on him into turn 1. Christensen has the line as long as he can get it slowed down. Angelard looking to see if there's a gap he can cut back into, but Christensen has him covered off, moves up into 3rd place, relegating Angelard off the podium. But we've still got 19 minutes remaining, so still plenty of opportunities for it all to change. At the moment, Cirelli 4.25 ahead of Pavel Lefterov. So Cirelli looks to have the legs at the moment to potentially bring this one home. Cirelli, who is a 2 times winner from last year, as we look at a replay. how hard they are pushing. Christensen giving it all that he's got, having taken that car over from Oscar Tunyo. And here into the chicane we come. And Zeno Folker in the number 22 car has found a route past Jeremy Siffert, and that was at the chicane. Right, and there's a replay again of Christensen and Angelard going toe-to-toe and then head-to-head. Advantage, Christensen, Angelard. So Christensen in that third place at the moment. We look down from the perspective of turn one. 17 minutes and 50 seconds plus 1 lap remaining. That is the fourth place car, Max Angelard. There's our race leader at the moment, Riccardo Cirelli, yet to win this year. Has had 3 podiums this year, along with Mattis Pierre Jakobsen. Jakobsen dearly would love to get his first ever win in Prototype Cup Germany. Will be watching on from the pits. All of his hard work now handing over to Cirelli. Fairly safe pair of hands, I would say. An investigation between Zeno Folker and Jeremy Siffert for that moment that we saw in turns 9 and 10, the chicane. There's the race leader, Cirelli. Remember, 4.246 last time around. We'll see what it is in a few moments. They're up to the chicane at the moment. And we'll see whether Pavel Lefterov has got anything left that he can bring to the table to try and take the win in this race. Still plenty of time. Across the chicane we come. So it was 4.246 last time across the line between first and second. You're looking at fourth place at the moment. Yes, so Lefterov has taken about half a second out of the lead. So Cirelli may well find the green and black Conrad Motorsport car bearing down on him before this race is done. The charge is on as Lefterov reduces the gap from 4.2 to 3.6 seconds. Christensen, 7.2 back from them, and a second and a half back. In fourth place is the car you're looking at there, the number 18 of Max Angelard. Still 16 minutes remaining. Keeping it all together, these cars require concentration and commitment. Very, very easy for it to suddenly get away from a driver, to lose that downforce, to be propelled off into the fence. The drivers need to focus, they need to concentrate. Was talking to Max Angelard and to Mattis Plushkul yesterday. They were both saying how much they love the prototype discipline, how much they enjoyed being at Spa-Francorchamps. I asked them, did they lift for Eau Rouge, for Radion and Eau Rouge? They both said they didn't. Courage. The fear means nothing as you head up that steep climb at Spa-Francorchamps. A very different kind of circuit here at the Nürburgring, but still a big challenge, just a different kind of challenge. As we look at third place, Alexander Christensen, looking for his first ever podium in this series. His best up until now, fourth place at the Lausitzring. Maxim Dirks in that fifth place after that visit to the penalty box. So the incident between Zeno Folker and car number 11, Jeremy Siffert, no further action. The stewards have had a look at it and they've decided that all's fair in love and war, and Folker remains unscathed in sixth place. So he is some 17.6 seconds back from Maxim Dirk in fifth place. So I think he's going to struggle potentially to go forwards from that sixth place. So Zeno Folker will not be happy with that as a result, as things are at the moment, but still time for things to change. Still time for things to change in front. You can see how quickly Pavel Lefterov is closing in on the race leader, Riccardo Cirelli. So 2.803 last time across the line, this time 1.898. So Pavel Lefterov has taken 1 second out of Riccardo Cirelli's lead. With 13.5 minutes left, Riccardo Cirelli looking for his first win of the year. Matthias Pierre Jakobsen looking for his first win ever in Prototype Cup Germany. The question is, how hard is Pavel Lefterov prepared to push? How much is he willing to risk to take a win or to settle for second place? How much life has he taken out of those tyres in the pursuit of the race leader? Stay tuned. We're going to find out in the next 13 minutes plus 1 lap. Here's your race leader. At the moment, Riccardo Cirelli. Pavel Lefterov was 1.898 back from them. Then it was Alexander Christensen, 9.399 back. But you can see the gap has been coming down lap after lap. Christensen in 3rd place, then Max Angelard. So there's your race leader. Here we come again, out onto the pit straight. 1.898 last time around. 1.094, so 0.8 of a second. We can see that Lefterov is a lot quicker. His last lap was a 126.8. The last lap for Cirelli was a 127.6. So a big differential between first and second. How much has Riccardo Cirelli got in his back pocket to defend with? Pavel Lefterov, remember, took over from Danny Sufi. Riccardo Cirelli took over from Matthias Pierre Jakobsen. They got the jump through the pit stop sequence. The long-time leader, Oscar Tunyo, started from pole position, handed over to Alexander Christensen in 3rd place. 10.6 seconds back from this battle. Is this the battle for the top step of the podium? We're into the last 11 minutes and 10 seconds of the race. Pavel Lefterov into the chicane, he comes. Just picking up the right amount of curb, a really precise driver. Pavel Lefterov, the driver from Bulgaria. We've enjoyed watching him in ADAC GT4 Germany for many years. He's had some time away, was driving Lamborghinis for a while. Now has really found his place in Prototype Cup Germany. A real hands-on driver, gets involved with the team, not scared to get his hands dirty. It's also the case with Danny Sufi, part of the fixtures and fittings at Conrad Motorsport. And then Riccardo Cirelli, one of the up-and-coming superstars. Riccardo Cirelli, one of the young chargers, just 17 years old, at the wheel of that car. Had a couple of wins at the end of last season. And looking for his first win this year, but Lefterov looking to steal it away in cruel fashion with 10 minutes remaining of this race. But remember, there is a championship at stake here. Lefterov cannot afford to slot the car into a gap that's closing. He cannot afford to record a non-finish. You don't need a timer now to see the gap. It was 0.8 of a second last time across the line, but now Lefterov has a little look to the inside. So is he going to make a challenge into turn 1? There'll be a slipstream to be had along the pit straight. The dirty air becomes the clean air as they follow each other in a straight line. Lefterov maybe too far back. Cirelli looks to have it covered off at the moment. Maybe Lefterov will have a challenge later on. He takes a much tighter line into turn 1. Maybe he's rehearsing for what he's going to do the next time around. He's going to be going around that corner a few more times, not many remaining in this race, because we're into the last 9 minutes plus 1 lap. This is the fight for the lead. Also, the champions challenging the drivers who are in 4th place in the championship. Riccardo Cirelli along with Matthias Bjerre-Jacobsen. To the outside, Pavel Lefterov now slotting his car into it. He didn't wait for the pit straight, made that look relatively easy. It was around a turn 7. Not often you see a pass there, but Lefterov suddenly saw the opportunity and he was through. Cirelli suddenly relegated down into 2nd place. Now, he will have the slipstream out along the pit straight. Is there anything he can do to fight back? Pavel Lefterov with a lot more experience in motorsport and out onto the pit straight. I think he's probably got everything done that he needs to. So the championship leader to the front, Danny Sufi, will be cheering on from the pits. In towards turn 1 they come. And Lefterov went to the outside and just really hung it out. Cirelli held the racing line, but Pavel Lefterov really just seeing the gap, sticking the car there, going the long way around and holding it all the way until the inside of the following corner. And into the lead goes Pavel Lefterov. Riccardo Cirelli, the dreams at the moment of a win this year put on hold. We've still got just over 7 minutes plus 1 lap remaining. So the gap up to about half a second between 1st and 2nd. Alexander Christensen in that 3rd place, some 11.4 seconds back. So I think you're looking potentially at the 1-2 at the moment, as long as there's no mistakes or mechanical issues. This is the gap we're waiting back. There's 3rd place, Christensen. Fairly lonely race now. Nobody in front, nobody behind. There's Maxim Dirks coming next. Then Max Angelard in that 5th place. And then Zeno Folker, some 17.2 seconds back from Maxim Dirks. So there is Maxim Dirks and Max Angelard. Dirks had relegated Angelard down that position on the previous lap. Comes through to cross the line. Dirks up to that 4th place. Into turn 1, the BWT car past the BWT banners, and then into turn 2. Pavel Lefterov, our race leader. Riccardo Cirelli. There's Max Angelard. Lost a lot of ground to Maxim Dirks on the previous lap and allowed Maxim Dirks to close in and make the move. Dirks, the more experienced of the 2 drivers, in his 21st race in the Prototype Cup Germany. Max Angelard in just his 9th race. Still looking for that 2nd win. Maxim Dirks looking for a 1st win in this series. So, here comes our race leader once again, Pavel Lefterov. A little over 5 minutes remaining. Out along the pit straight we come in towards turn 1 once again. He's certainly left Riccardo Cirelli behind it now. 2.1 is the gap between 1st and 2nd, but Cirelli is still well clear of Christensen. So the 1, 2, 3 looking pretty solid as they are. Maxim Dirks is looking fairly solid as well in 4th. He's broken clear of Max Angelard by nearly 2 seconds on that last lap. Zeno Folker is a fair distance back from Max Angelard, still waiting for him to cross the line. 15.491. Then a gap back to Jeremy Siffert. Wait for him to cross the line to tell you what that gap is. To Zeno Folker, 15.082. So everybody fairly spaced out now. So it's really For the last 4 minutes, a case of everybody doing what you're doing and bringing it home. No mistakes, no breakdowns. There's Dirks in 4th place. There's Angelard, who was overtaken by Maxim Dirks with relative ease, I think. Then from Jeremy Sippert in 7th, there is a 17.5 second gap to Mikkel C. Johansson in 8th. And there's Thomas Ambiel, 11.9 back from Johansson. 3.5 minutes remaining of this, the Prototype Cup Germany, race 9 of a 12 race season. One more race tomorrow, and then the finale at the Red Bull Ring. The 2nd week of September, once again part of the DTM package, where the champion will be decided. The champion who will succeed Valentina Catalano and Marcus Pommer. I think Catalano, he was mathematically in it coming into this weekend, but he's not racing here this weekend. So realistically not in the championship. So we're likely to see new names on the trophy. And Pavel Lefterov and Danny Sufi want to get this done and dusted before we get to the final race at the Red Bull Ring. 2.5 minutes remaining as we look at Maxim Dirks in 4th place. .11 seconds ahead of him. No, 5.6 seconds ahead of him is Alexander Christensen, who is 11 seconds back from Riccardo Ciurelli in 2nd place. The rumble of these cars as they come past our commentary position, shaking the ground. Wonderful sounding cars, of course. The LMP3 with a new chassis around the world. This is the only full-time championship where we're running the slightly older LMP3. And of course, the Oreca engines, the 5.6-litre Nissan engines. We shall miss the rumble of those when they're finally hung up for good. There's the gap between 1st and 4th, 20.5 seconds. So everything very much static in the last minute and a half. But the drivers have still got to get it home. They've still got to get it across the line to score the points. They're not paid out until the race is done and dusted. Lefterov, 3.6 clear of Ciurelli. So once he got past, he broke clear. There's Zeno Folker, who has... Oh no, that's Lefterov just coming through the lapped cars. Let's look at Zeno Folker. He's still 15.1 back from Max Angelard, who is 2.6 back from Maxim Dirks. So here comes Lefterov once again. So 45, 43, 42, 41, 40 seconds on the clock. It'll be what remains of this lap, and then one more for Pavel Lefterov and Danny Sufi. They've won so far 4 races this season. Can they make it 5 out of 9 races? Certainly doing all the right things in all the right places in the closing stages of this race, with one hand potentially on the championship trophy. 34 points was the gap between themselves and Max Angelard and Matis Pushkal coming into this race. So if they win this one, they'll pick up the 25 points. 5th place for Max Angelard and Matis Pushkal will give them 11. So the gap will open up to 48 between Sufi Lefterov and Angelard and Matis Pushkal, with 75 left on the table. Maxim Dirk and Sven Bart for 4th place would score 13 points, so that would leave them 75 points adrift. No, I beg your pardon. That would leave them 52 points adrift. So still in the championship hunt, but still with a lot of work to do. It's going to be a brave man who bets against this car and this driver combination as it starts the final lap, and starting to look potentially like a championship could be coming the way of Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov for Conrad Motorsport. because the points gap is going to open up if things remain as they are for the last 3.6 kilometers of this circuit here at the Nürburgring. Riccardo Cirelli in second place. Too far back to challenge, 5.164 back. Alexander Christensen, 11.1 back from them. The 1, 2, 3, well spaced out. Your podium positions into turn 5 for the very last time. Pavel Lefterov and Danny Sufi. Lefterov at the wheel, having taken over from Danny Sufi. They started on the front row of the grid. It was Oscar Tunjo who did the hard work, put the car on pole position. Alexander Christensen took over, now looking at a podium position, but it was P2 for Danny Sufi, with Lefterov taking it over, getting the car to the lead of the race when it counts in the closing stages of this race into the chicane for the very last time, and then into turn 11, and then it'll be out onto the pit straight. They will see the checkered flag up ahead of them, the driver at the front, Pavel Lefterov and Danny Sufi win for the 5th time this season here the Nürburgring for Conrad Motorsport. Riccardo Cirelli across the line in second place with Matthias Pierre Jakobsen. And then the car number 1, Alexander Christensen and Oscar Tunjo for a podium position. It'll be a first ever podium for Alexander Christensen. Certainly a very solid job there. Maxim Dirks and Sven Bart crossing the line in 4th place ahead of Max Angelard and Matish Plushkov. So there, on the wide down lap, a fairly dominant performance there for these drivers, Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov. In the evening sunshine here at the Nürburgring, conditions have been perfect. But now, Lefterov and Sufi dare they dream about the championship. So the second place for Matthias Pierre Jakobsen and Riccardo Cirelli. That's a good points haul. That gives them 20, but leaves them 68 points adrift of Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov. So 75 points available now after today, and they are 48 points ahead. A 38-lap race, Sufi and Lefterov taking the win ahead of Matthias Pierre Jakobsen, Riccardo Cirelli, Oscar Tunjo, Alexander Christensen. That's your 1, 2, 3 ahead of Sven Bart, Maxim Dirks, Matish Plushkov, Max Angelard, Gina Folker in 6 ahead of Jakob Elbacker, Jeremy Siffert, and then Mikkel C. Johansson and Michael Herrick bringing up the back of the pack there. Thomas Ambiel in 9th place. So there, the point standings, 48 points ahead with just 75 points on the table. So they can't quite wrap it up tomorrow, but they can come flipping close to doing it. So into part ferme conditions come the cars. The roar of the engines, and Pavel Lefterov opens the door and jump out to receive the applause of the team. Try not to shut the bolts in the door, always a good job. Danny Sufi will no doubt be standing by, ready to congratulate his co-pilot. And there, very deservedly jubilant, Alexander Christensen gets that podium that he's been looking for, with Oscar Tunjo as a co-pilot. ADAC Motorsport just saying, some congratulations from the Next Gen Cup. Frederick from the Next Gen Cup offering his congratulations as well. And of course, he had Alexander Christensen in his series as a guest last year. So Pavel left her off there with the hat on.
Texas boy.
Well done, Texas boy. There's Danny Sufi. Great guy, real characters, both of them. Always willing to chat. As we see, Riccardo Cirelli on the left, Matthias Bjerre-Jacobsen on the right. And there's Oscar Tunjo on the right, with Alexander Christensen on the left. Yeah, Danny Sufi, Pavel Lefterov. It didn't look easy. They're always willing to chat when you go and see them in the pits. Real characters as well. And very happy to go and have a selfie taken with them, as indeed are many of these drivers. They love what they do. And there's Franz Conrad, an absolute legend in motorsport with the white hair. It was nice to be able to listen in as we look down at Parc Fermé. And the celebrations ongoing. I have to say that Riccardo Cirelli, not looking as delighted as perhaps he might at the moment. Matthias Bjerre-Jacobsen, they had a second place at the season opener at Spa-Francorchamps, possibly feeling like they were deserving a win today. And of course, tomorrow, they're going to have to carry a little bit of extra time in the pits, an extra 4 seconds minimum pit stop time as a result of that second place. It'll be 6 seconds again for Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov. And it'll be an additional 2 seconds for this duo here, but they won't mind because they've got a podium here in race 1 of the weekend. So Pavel Lefterov and Texas boy Danny Sufi to the top step of the podium. Now, who are we going to get from Conrad Motorsport? I'm going to get somebody. And Matthias Bjerre-Jacobsen, the highest placed junior driver, as is the case for Riccardo Cirelli. Mikael Herrick, the highest placed trophy driver. And it is going to be Franz Conrad. That legendary smile. You see that one from a mile off. Great guy, real character, so many stories to tell. And he receives one for Conrad Motorsport. But before all of that, the national anthem. So hats placed back on. And there's going to be a wheelbarrow full of trophies wheeled on for this lot. Oh, where's Franz going? Who stood on the wrong side? There's a bottle there for you. So, Ferry Franz, Managing Director of ADAC Westfalen, presenting the winners' trophies. Matthias Bjerre-Jacobsen and Riccardo Cirelli will receive their trophies from Creventic. And then Jürgen Heiker from ADAC Westfalen presenting the Alexander Christensen Oscar Tunyo. And here comes the... they're not juniors. Far from it. The junior trophies are presented. I think Danny was about to take that, wasn't he? He's got that one already. And then Ori Lichtenberg, series coordinator, that's who it was, presents the trophy. And Franz Conrad will get the team trophy. He must have a fair few of those by now. To win here at the Nürburgring, certainly something that Franz Conrad has done many, many times. Local to here. And legendary name. Everybody squeezes up for a photo. And then the champagne flows. The mother of all champagne fights. Anybody who's got any sense runs for cover. And anyone who's got any sense, join us again tomorrow. We're getting towards the climax of this championship. There are just 3 races remaining. 1 tomorrow, then 2 at the Red Bull Ring in September. Is Danny Sufi and Pavel Lefterov, are they going to get this championship sewn up before we get to the final race of the season? Well, there's only one way to find out. We've got tomorrow to come first. It's going to be great stuff for Prototype Cup Germany tomorrow, a little after 4:30 local time. I do hope you'll join us there for what will be race 10 of a 12-race season. We'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us today. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.